Thank you.
All right.
So we should just one more minute.
Ready?
Almost. Clear.
I don't know. Whatever.
OK, so let me switch here to Espera. One more minute. Uy, está apareciendo así. Let me switch here to,
I'm number 3.
I think I'm number 1.
Yep. Looks like it. Yep.
Yay!
Can you guys hear me too? Yeah? OK.
Hello, everyone. Hello.
Hey. Hi.
How you doing? Good? You doing good so far? You recording this? Good. How's the conference going so far? Good? Party last year? Last night? Not last year, but the year. It was good? OK. Thank you, everyone, for being here. What we are going to try to do today with Daniel is to get to know you and ask you for feedback. And we really want you to know how the Visual Studio, how the Xamarin for Visual Studio teams looks like, who we are, where we work from, and we want to get a lot of feedback from you. So let me start here by, so basically I'm Victor, he's Daniel. We both work for, I'm not sure if I should say Xamarin or Microsoft or, well, both. Xamarin. We work for Xamarin. Yeah. So quick intro on how did we got here in the first place, right? Daniel and I had a small consulting company back in 2002. We started working for Microsoft at that time, extending Visual Studio. I think it's pretty fairly to say that we started working on extending Visual Studio when Visual Studio was not extensible. Right? So we are that old. So we work for different teams within Microsoft, within Visual Studio, right? The IDE team, the debugger team, a lot of teams in there.
So system one.
Yes, yes. So we can say we have a fairly quite a bit of experience extending Visual Studio, right? So then in 2014, Xamarin asked for our help. So we put there 2 people from our team. When I say our team, our company is 10 people, right? So don't imagine something like, hundreds or dozens of people, right? So 20% of Clarius was working for Xamarin, helping Xamarin make their Visual Studio integration better. And Nat, the Xamarin CEO, told me, OK, we may need some more help from you, right? So I said, OK, let me talk to Microsoft, because the other 80% of the company was working for Microsoft, right? So let me try to get you another 10% working for Xamarin. And he said, no, I'm thinking something different. OK.
So we need everyone.
Do you want 20% of the company working for Xamarin, 20 more percent of the company? No, I just want to buy the whole company. OK. So that's how in 2014, Xamarin bought part of Clarius. Pretty much all the most of the company, right? The Visual Studio extensibility part of Clarius. And fast forward to a month ago, you may have heard that, right? Microsoft bought Xamarin. So that's how we ended up being on stage today here.
Now, of course, just by 2014, when we joined Xamarin, of course, Xamarin for Visual Studio already existed, right? It had been around for a little while. So when we started doing consulting, that was about maybe a year before we joined. All of us, the company, a couple of us were working with Xamarin, like doing the components integration. That was the first part we worked on. And from that, we said, yeah, we can take care of the whole thing. And of course, that means that there was a lot of work already in the product. And then we just started on the new stuff and some of the things we will talk about today. Hopefully, you have been noticing the change over time, how it became more stable and faster and so on. So that was part of our work.
Yeah. So one of the things I really want to make a point today is that this is the team, right? We are from Argentina, from Buenos Aires. We speak Spanish there. We have these long names, right? My name is Victor Manuel Fermin Garcia Aprea. So BGA, it's much more, easy to remember.
And a close second is Emmanuel, right?
Yes, Emmanuel Facundo Fernandez de la Oca, right? So everyone has a TLA, right? Yeah. Everyone has 3 letters that you can use to reach, right?
Emmanuel never gets the packages from Amazon because the name is always wrong, so.
Yes, yes, we had some, and when we had to fill, the forms in customs, Victor Manuel Fermin Garcia Aprea, it doesn't fit there, just doesn't fit. So if you use any of these TLAs at Xamarin.com, you will reach one of our team members. Yeah. We will talk later of what each one of us does, so you can.
And we have a whole team, Alias too, which is VSX, Visual Studio Extensibility, and you can also reach all of us just by shooting an email there. Okay?
So please, please, please send us any feedback, anytime, right? This is working, this is not working. You can use my alias if you have.
Yeah, and something that I was talking
the other
day I was talking with some customers during lunch. I don't know if you're here, but one of the things that they were mentioning is like at some point, if you have been using Xamarin, how many of you have been using Xamarin VS for more than, let's say, a year? A lot of
Everyone.
You. Okay.
Good.
So it may be that a lot of you that have been using it for a while are used to some workarounds for things you know that don't work great, and by now it's just for you natural to do it. Please think hard about the things that you are actually using today as workarounds that are not normal in any other .NET app. It's like if you have a WPF app, one example, you almost never need to rebuild in order to run it, right? You just modify something, F5, and it works.
And it should work.
It should work the same for our extension for Xamarin. So if something you notice that it doesn't quite work the way every other kind of app works in Xamarin VS, just pause and say, oh, why am I doing this? And shoot us an email or file a bug or whatever. Whatever is easier for you. But the workarounds are actually bugs. So we are looking forward to learning more about those.
Again, please, please, please reach us, reach any team members with any feedback. We want to fix the things that are not working that well. We want to fix also the things that are just not working. Mm-hmm. And send us feedback, please. That's the whole reason we are here today. We really want to hear from you. What do we do in the Xamarin for Visual Studio team? We try to be supporting the latest and greatest features in Android, in iOS, right, from day 0, so you can keep supporting for your customers, the latest Apple TV, the latest Apple Watch, latest Android stuff, and things like that. That means that you should be able to target, the very, very latest, all native APIs that are there in iOS and Android. You should be able to work with that. If you find any API, you find something that doesn't work with the very latest, again, please let us know, and we will fix that.
Yeah, and not only that, but the support in the IDE should also be there. So aside from the core features in the IDE that we need to go improve and add more features there, we also, any of this stuff usually requires some sort of IDE integration. And as you know, Apple comes every year with something new, same thing more or less with Android. So that's also part of the work that the people that you saw in the previous slide are working on.
Those are the nice times in the year when Apple announces stuff, and Google does the same that we need, to run behind that.
Like a week or
and work endless nights in order to try to make this same-day support work, right? So that's pretty much what we do. So you want to go?
Yeah, so a lot of you raised your hands about using Xamarin for more than a year. So you probably heard that before the end of last year, around September, if I recall correctly, we shipped the cycle 6, we call it, that was Xamarin 4, with a new build agent for the Mac. So this was a big undertaking for us. It was pretty much like the biggest feature we had implemented up until then. And one of the things that we noticed people actually did, like even our own guys during the demos, was rebuild, 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 rebuild all the time, right? And that was expensive, going with all the app again to the Mac and so on. So one of the things that we worked very hard on the new build agents is that you should never have to do that. So just F5, only the changes should go through. So we'll talk a little bit about how it works.
Is anyone here using Xamarin version prior to 4? Anyone using 3 dot something?
Like an older? No.
That's perfect. So everyone is using
this thing now, right?
This baby here. OK.
Yeah, so we basically started from scratch. More stuff when we to explain. OK. So one of the things that we are starting to explore is how to, because how many of you have tried or used Apache Cordova or the iOS, C++, and Android native?
Anyone using C++ for iOS, Microsoft C++ for iOS?
Okay.
One,
Someone?
Okay.
OK. So Microsoft already has other tools that need to talk to the Mac. So one of the things we are thinking moving forward is kind of like take this thing we have, which works really nice, it's very secure, goes over SSH, doesn't require extra ports to be open. So if you're an enterprise, this is a welcome change. And one of the things that you probably will notice is that you don't need to configure anything else to get like the iOS simulator remoting that you saw in the demo. The ports thing is a thing of the past. Now everything goes over the same channel. That's how it just works. So if you can connect to the Mac, you can use all of the stuff that we'll be adding on top. There's no reason why, as Microsoft now, we would have like 3 ways of connecting to the Mac and 3 different experiences for entering the IP of the Mac and then signing in and connecting.
One of the good things about Microsoft acquiring Xamarin is that now we will be working together much more closely. We were already working together a lot, but now that will be a lot more, right? Mm-hmm. So hopefully we will get to have a single way of deploying bits to the Mac. And ideally, and we are shooting for the moon here, is we want you to use, we don't want you to have to install anything on the Mac, right? So you will use your Windows machine that will install whatever is required on the Mac. We have started that path with this here, right? Because there is no more.
We need to figure out with Microsoft how, because Microsoft is also working on a brand new Visual Studio setup experience. And we need to figure out how to integrate with that in a way that we can also download the Mac dependencies from Windows. But on Windows, it's all MSIs. They don't know about Mac packages and whatnot. So we're going to start working on that so that you can just install the Windows side, connect to a Mac, and whatever is missing will be pushed over there.
How many of you have seen the new setup experience in VS Next?
Okay.
Whoa. OK, good.
Quite a few.
So Xamarin will be there. That's the good news.
So it's a new one, like more task-based. It's install Visual Studio 2015, well, VNext, actually, and say, what are you going to do? Mobile development or desktop development?
Much faster, much smaller.
And that will automatically pick whatever you need, instead of like an endless list of checkboxes, right?
Yes. So you want to talk a little bit about how...
Yeah. So
do you know how this works? No? Who knows how this works? I will go into,
no, if you're Xamarin, it doesn't count.
Yeah. MH doesn't count. You work for us. So.
OK. MSBuild, how many of you have like customized MSBuild in any way, like after build targets or whatnot? OK, so you know more or less how MSBuild works. For the rest, in MSBuild, basically, we have a targets file. Previously, we had a kind of like separated and completely independently maintained targets, pretty much, between what Xamarin Studio on the Mac did and what we did in Visual Studio. So we had endless source of bugs because you would build in Visual Studio and you would end up with something that was slightly different in Xamarin Studio. Maybe we were missing some files, or maybe they were doing something a little bit different than us as far as packaging or signing or whatever. So we basically said this has to stop. We need to have a single thing, a single source for all the targets. The behavior should be the same in both IDEs. So what we currently have is a mechanism where we actually share the entire Xamarin targets. The MSBuild targets are shared. But of course, on the Mac side, everything runs locally. Currently with MSBuild, in the near future, Microsoft is already kind of done with the cross-platform MSBuild thing. So eventually, that will switch also over to MSBuild. So that will become another shared layer there. But currently, it's MSBuild on that side. And essentially, we have the targets file. And then at the end, at the bottom, you can see the tasks on the left. Those are the tasks that are implementing the behavior at the end. Now, from the Visual Studio side, of course, we have to go to the Mac. So what we do is, at the MSBuild task level, we essentially intercept the targets invocation and then remote that to the Mac. So that means that at the targets level, you can see we have inputs and outputs there. That's something that we didn't have before. We are still finding places where we can optimize that. Essentially, inputs and outputs in the MSBuild targets allows you to do incremental builds. So previously, if you had a ton of PNGs, for example, images in your app, those would go all the way to the Mac on every build or rebuild, and would be optimized there, regardless of whether you change them or not, right? Now, since we have a very nice incremental builds, we will never copy the PNGs more than once. It's like the first time you build, they will be there, but otherwise, they're just there. So that's why I'm saying rebuild is, you know that rebuild is essentially clean build. So if you do clean, you delete all of them, and then you build, you are essentially copying everything that may not have been needed in the first place. So if there are some scenarios where you still need to rebuild, we need to know about those because it's a bug, essentially. And I will probably
move.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to. So
yeah.
One thing I would like to add is that we get asked a lot, hey, can I get rid of the Mac? Can I build just with Windows? Which will be, we also get asked if, can I use my iPhone as a build host, right? So that will work, right? But if you understand this, this is the reason why we cannot get rid of the Mac, because while you are working on Windows, you are editing your code with the best IDE of the world, with Visual Studio, right? That gets moved, copied to the OS X, and then there we are using Xcode and the Apple toolchain. So that's the reason why you cannot get rid of a Mac if you are building iOS code today.
Yeah, and one of the things that this showcases more or less is the architecture of the build host. We essentially have different agents, and you have probably seen these in the Xamarin output window where when it's starting all the agents on the Mac. This was one of the things that allowed us, when we had to, with the Microsoft announcements at Build, the changes in activation in Xamarin, where you don't need activation anymore. For us, it was mostly just removing the first box over there. That was it. So they are all independent. That means that if there's any bug or crash or whatever, let's say, in the build agent, that's the one that runs the MSBuild thing, the designer may still work, or stats or whatever. We have also, and the separation there, TCP over SSH, that we actually use a bi-directional TCP channel there. Previously, it was HTTP request response kind of thing. So that meant that we had to poll the Mac a lot. So now we are kind of reducing also the load on the Mac side, because when there's something that changed on the Mac, like let's say you plugged in a phone in the Mac will actually push that over from the IDB agent to Visual Studio, and we just refresh the dropdown without having to poll or anything. So it's more efficient in that way. A lot of the behaviors that we have in MSBuild, like MSBuild is synchronous, and essentially there's an execute and you need to return a Boolean. So in those cases, it works as a request response kind of thing. But it's, let's say, supported on top of something that is not request response below that.
OK.
So
which number is that?
Yeah, this is number 3.
Which is here.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So this is an app that has, over here, endless PNGs over there. It's about 400 megs once it's built on the Mac. And one thing I wanted to show is, if I do build here, it will just do nothing. You see down there? It said build succeeded. It's because nothing is dirty. So that's the way it should be. If you didn't change anything, nothing should get built. If something is, usually that's a sign that something else is off.
And in that case, you want to email Mauro, mag@xamarin.com, and say, hey, I didn't change anything in my code.
And it's building.
And it's building everything again.
And it shouldn't, right?
Yeah.
So, but not only that, it may not be a bug on our side, but sometimes we have seen a lot of customers actually tune at the MSBuild level. Let's say you have a portable class library dependency there, and maybe you use a NuGet package or something that is generating some code on the fly. Well, if that thing is generating that code on every build, that means it doesn't have the proper inputs, outputs, and it's generating a new CS file on every build. Well, that new build in the PCL will cascade new builds in all the other projects, even if you didn't change anything in the iOS app, right? So sometimes it's a sign of something, deeper in the dependency chain that is causing the issue. Yeah. But
they want to contact us anyway, so we can help you research that and figure out what's going on.
Yeah. So that's something that we can easily troubleshoot. You can just do a diagnostics or detailed build, either from Visual Studio or from the command line, and that shows up like almost immediately. It says, yeah, this project is out of date. So building. So Visual Studio build is, when everything is right, is really fast. So when we heard complaints about the build in Xamarin VS being slow, it ended up being something else that was out of date. Like you had the case the other day.
Yeah, we had this nice we were working for the keynote demo, Tesco Life, you saw that. And the app was taking like a minute and 20 seconds to build and deploy. So we found out that one of the NuGet packages that we were using, I don't want to mention it because I won't mention it, but one of the NuGet packages we were using had a file whose date was in 2046, in the future. And it happens that Android tools doesn't like DLLs in the future. So that was causing the whole thing to rebuild and take almost a minute and a half. Once we went there, fixed the date, the thing took like
Well, it wasn't really that Android didn't like it. It's like MSBuild, that's how it works. Yeah. If the input file, your source code, is older than something else, then, we need to build again, right? And it was always older because
because
the reference
2046 is going to be
in the future, right?
So yeah.
And for whatever reason, this actually worked on Xamarin Studio. Maybe they fixed the dates when they installed NuGet packages. I don't know. So it ends up being some issue with NuGet. We'll bring that back with that team. But again, that's a case where it's not that we, as Xamarin VS, were being slower because we are slower in VS. There was something else. So it's always worth it to investigate a little bit more. Well, I just wanted to show a tool that pretty much I don't think anybody knows about, really. Maybe, I don't know. It's right here in Tools, iOS, Open Mac console there. If you see something weird going on, that's it's connecting now to the Mac, so it will start the agents and whatnot. So it will show up in a second. So we may move forward, and then we may come back. Okay. What that tool does is essentially, once you are connected to a Mac, that's the starting the agents that you probably are familiar with, you can actually, the command gets enabled, and you can run and see live what's going on between the Mac and Visual Studio, and it could help troubleshoot some issues. Like in my case, yeah, it's connected now, so I can do this. iOS, Open Mac Agent Console. So there's a bunch of commands we support there. The one I find most useful is tail. That will essentially show you everything that's going on between the two. So if I go and change something in the code here and build, and the build started for the iOS app, you see none of the other projects was rebuilt or anything, so that's a good sign. And you can see what's going on here. There's a bunch of copy items. Those are the ones that you might want to look at. And this keeps popping up, even though I closed Chrome, whatever. So you can see, maybe, let's stop that. But you can see that the copying that is happening is mostly create package, whatever, mtouch. It's just the exes, OK? No PNG was copied, because there's no need for those. And if I did a rebuild, this would take like forever because you would see all the files going over and over. Some of the things that we did at the build level is we have a global cache of blobs on the Mac, which is per user, which works similarly to how Dropbox or WhatsApp works. When you share a video in WhatsApp, you're not actually sharing the video 20,000 times. If it's the same video that was already viral by another gazillion people, it shares instantly. That's because it's the same blob, and the same thing in Dropbox. That's why it's so fast. So we have a similar thing on the Mac where once we see a blob go over to the Mac, we store it in this blob cache. Let's say you're using Newtonsoft JSON in 5 projects. We'll only copy that DLL once, even if you do a rebuild. So the blob cache is independent from everything else. So that's another thing where you will probably see improvements there. We also have a threshold mechanism. So when files are over a certain size, which is around 1 meg, we'll actually copy using the underlying SCP, SSH connection, rather than going via protocol, which is slower for bigger payloads. So a lot of improvements went there.
Yeah,
so,
what's the takeover here is that this thing should work fast, right? And if it does not work fast for you, if you see that just for building, you are not getting, it looks like your project is rebuilding or is copying stuff that it shouldn't, please let us know.
Yeah, and another thing, please, I saw someone actually coding in Visual Studio and then switching to the Mac to do the build with Xamarin Studio.
Should not
because the build was faster there. So don't do that. If you really notice like serious difference between the build times in Xamarin Studio and Visual Studio, we need to fix it, okay? Yeah, switch.
Okay, thank you.
Because that shouldn't be the case. We did a ton of performance measuring there, and the overhead of our build agent is really minimal compared to all the other stuff that needs to be done anyway.
Of course, it will be slower than if you are building Android stuff, because Android is local, right? But again, it should work fast. So let's keep moving. Xamarin Test Cloud. How many of you have used here Xamarin Test Cloud ever? Good.
Awesome.
Good. A lot of people. OK, so you already know what Xamarin Test Cloud is.
Yeah, so move next.
No. Yeah. No. So yes, we keep supporting adding new devices there, right? 2,300 devices. I just found out that you can email them, and if you happen to find a device that is not in this almost 2,300 devices, you can ask for it. They will go find the device, and they will put it in Test Cloud for you. Let me show you one thing here. So Test Cloud Live. Test Cloud Live. Did you saw that at the keynote? Yes. Did you like it? Yes. A lot? Or you like it a lot? Good. So I don't have bits to show for Test Cloud Live. Sorry about that. But basically what that is when you go here, let me, oops. One more second. How do I get out of here? Oops. So.
Escape?
No, it didn't work. But anyway, so I don't have bits to show anyway. So what Test Cloud Live is you can use a single device on Test Cloud, not just upload your app and get it run on thousands or hundreds of those, right? But just on one. So you will go to the Start menu in VS, where you have listed your local devices. You will see a new nice entry there that reads live devices. And that will show the devices that they are available in Test Cloud for use at that very moment. So you can actually deploy to one of those devices. We will open a web browser with the device UI there. You can interact with that. If you have a surface, you can even touch, right?
Yeah.
The screen, and that will work also. You can use the device using touch. And we are using ADB for Android case. iOS is not supported just yet, but Android is. We are using ADB, so we can actually deploy the app there. You can set breakpoints in Visual Studio, and that will work. The app will stop. You can inspect values. You can do. It will be exactly even. I mean, if you run ADB, ADB thinks that the device is connected locally to your machine through USB. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, one of the things we're exploring for the future is like making that experience with the cloud device maybe more similar to what we have for the iOS simulator that we'll show in a minute. And so it may be that it doesn't look like a web page eventually, and it may look more like something that is running remotely, the backend, but still something that you can interact in a nicer, non-web-based UI.
And this is where the new entry should appear, right? The cloud devices one,
yep.
And you will get the devices listed there. So, nice, I just got here. So what follows is test recorder. No, test recorder. So test recorder here. Not nice. Not nice. Test recorder. Did you saw the demo again yesterday for that? Did you like it? Yeah.
How many are writing UI tests already today? A lot.
How are you writing UI tests today? By hand? By hand? Okay. Test recorder. Okay.
For Xamarin Studio.
Okay. Yes, we have test recorder for Visual Studio now. That's the good news. Not just Xamarin Studio, but Visual Studio. It's a really early preview, right? So it will get much, much better than what it is today. Good news is you can go to the gallery, the Visual Studio gallery, and download it today. It was available since yesterday. It's a simple V6. You just can double-click on the V6, and that will install. Let me show you that.
Well, some of the interesting things that are not so visible. You know that in Visual Studio 2015 and up, you have Rosling built in, right? Rosling doesn't come as a Visual Studio anything for 2012 and 2013, but we still support 2012 and 2013 at Xamarin. So one of the things that also went into the current version is we added support for Rosling into 2012 and 2013. And so you can expect to see more fancy stuff like this. But currently, just the designer, for example, the iOS designer, is already using Rosling to generate code inside VS, even though it works in 2012 and 2013. So that's something that we also worked on to enable.
So right now, you will need to launch the emulator by hand because the current preview bits of Test Recorder do not launch it for you, right? So make sure that you have your emulator launched already. And let's let that guy there start up and hopefully deploy the app. So it's deploying the app. So I have test recorded bits already installed on this box, right? So this is a Tasky app, really simple app. I have the bits installed, so you can see here that, can you see this little thing here? That's test recorder. That's the current UI. It will get better. Remember I said that. So you can click here and record a new test. It will ask you for the APK, sorry. Hopefully, we will change this, and we will show a really nice project picker where we only show,
Yeah, or maybe we do the same thing that we do for UI tests, where it actually takes whatever project reference you have. And
and when I say we, there is actually a test recorder team that is doing this. It's not we, but we are helping them. But
just like for the UI test team, where we work together to integrate that into VS, and UI test for iOS from Visual Studio is coming too. So.
OK, so I'm selecting by hand right now the APK that was just built on the Tasky thing here. So this will get better. So you can read in the status bar that says connecting to app. What this is doing, this is injecting a test recorded app in the Android device, emulator in this case, in order to be able to talk to it. So it says connected. Besides saying connected, we can see it generated here a new test method. So we can start using our app. No more coding by hand of test. I just click there, and you can see there the, can you read that, or should I bump the font? Can you read that, everyone? Good? OK. So I just clicked there. So let me set something like Xamarin Rocks. Can you see the text being added there in the method? So every interaction you do with the device, with the simulator in this case, is being translated into code for you and being added there, so you don't have to write code by hand. What's that, right? So, and I really like this. Look at this. It's live. Can you see that? Can you see that? It's almost. So let's put something else here, like, no, not MS. It says Visual Studio. OK, it's a little bit slow now. Whatever, I'm done. So let's save this. And it also adds the code to tap the Save button, right? Once you are finished interacting with your app, you can come back here, say Stop recording, and you are ready to run this test.
Yeah, which is lacking maybe an assertion, but whatever.
Yeah, that's a simple test. OK.
But
this is really nice. Yeah, we should hurry up. This is really nice. So please go out to the Visual Studio Gallery, download it, give it a try, and send feedback to the test recorder team, and so they can make it better, and we can help them also make it better. OK.
Back to the beginning. Yeah.
Back to the beginning. Test recorder. So that was test recorder. Now your turn with the iOS number 3.
So you probably saw this already in the keynote. Well, you surely saw it. But what you didn't see, maybe, this is a tvOS project. So I select simulator there, and we have Apple TV simulator too. So if I just go and run that, you see it's not running here. So this is not like preloaded anything.
No tricks.
No tricks.
Good.
So it works for real.
How many of you are writing tvOS apps? One? Good. We support you.
OK, breakpoint. So yeah, this works just like the same as for the iOS remote. And I put the laptop here so that you can see that I am actually touching here. So we have the remote control there. We can simulate gestures and tapping to select up there. Yes. Then menu to go out. Hit the breakpoint there.
So this is the iOS simulator coming from the Mac to Windows.
Yeah. The only thing we are still fleshing out is the simulator for watchOS. So that's coming too. So right now, iOS, all of them, and tvOS.
This is also part of our initiative of
and it's pretty fast,
leave your Mac
right?
in the closet, right? So you can almost forget that you need a Mac, right? It's in the closet. You don't need to go there and look at the simulator, how it's working. And we will show you some other thing right now about that. So I should go back to 1. The simulator is really, the remote is really nice. It works with multi-touch, right? It works 3D. It's not there yet in the public bits, but it will be there. So you don't have anything missing there. You won't miss the Mac at all.
Yeah, 3D touch is the thing with the pressure sensor. So maybe and that was kind of like anticlimactic, I would say, because not everybody is writing an app that uses a pen for drawing or whatever. So it may not be too relevant to you, the 3D touch. But if you're doing, for example, the actions that the icon on the home screen in iOS allows you to add custom actions right there, you can actually trigger those now from that, which is much more useful because you may have those, right?
OK. Second bit of our Leave Your Mac in the Closet initiative. USB forwarding, what's that? You already know, if you are building iOS apps, that if you want to test against a real device, you have to plug that device where? In the Mac. And it's
so
not very convenient,
closet,
you know,
right?
to go to the closet, open the closet, plug the. No, we don't want to do that. So what we did is we added support in Windows. You can plug the device in Windows. We will remote that to the Mac, which will then remote that back to Windows. And it will show up in VS on the Start menu as if it was connected physically to the Mac. Is that good?
Yeah, go, go, go.
I'm talking about leave the Mac in the closet. I emailed yesterday this company. There are a bunch of them out there, but I just happened to, not Google, but Bing for them. And Mac in Cloud, do you know Mac in Cloud? So you still need a Mac, but maybe you don't need to buy one because there are services out there that offer, Mac cloud services. So I emailed them and I said, we are going to give this session about leave your Mac in the closet, whatever. What can we get from you to give away in this session? And they say, you can offer 2 free 1 month or 2 months, I don't remember, I think it was 1 month, of our newest plan, super duper, admin access to the box, really nice, Xamarin is set up there. So we have 2 of those to give away today. So you can try how it feels, to use a remote Mac. You don't even need a Mac. We use that setup, kind of that setup between our office in Buenos Aires and in Boston, so it works. Yeah.
So you should be able to connect to a Mac, which is, let's say, in Mac in Cloud, and plug your device in your local machine.
In Windows.
And that will go and back, right?
You don't need to go to the Mac in Cloud offices and say, can I plug this device on whatever Mac Mini you assign to me? No, you can plug it in Windows, and it will show up in Visual Studio, and it will work.
Okay, switch.
Switch number 3, yeah.
Number 3. A VM running what?
We don't know what Mac in Cloud uses.
You need a physical machine to run OS 10.
They will give you, I guess, an IP address where you can put, in Windows. And But physical box, cool.
And Mac in Cloud, on the website, they have all the specs for the machines that they run.
Yes.
So.
And there are others too, right?
Yeah.
Just wanted to let you know that there are services that you can use to avoid getting a Mac.
Yeah, so that's my simulator thing. I'm connected to the Mac. You need to be connected to the Mac first, right? Also, there's no way for us to forward the port to anything if you're not connected to the Mac first. So let me plug that in. So the first thing you will notice is the Windows machine first sees my device. That was really quick. So you saw the phone plugged on Windows. Now we detect that. We know that it's an iOS device. So we ask you to elevate the process because we need to do this. It's kind of like a driver thing. So, and I'm not running VS as an admin, so I give permissions to that. And right away, my phone disappears from Windows because now it's not plugged into Windows anymore. Like Windows doesn't see it because now it's on the Mac. So it takes a little bit for it to show up here. The initial connection takes a few seconds, but it should show up here.
We believe you. I have seen it work.
You have seen it work? OK. It's there, yeah. Casu phone, there. OK, so this is, well, I can't show it here.
Let's show that this iPhone is connected to this Surface, right? There are no tricks in here.
Yeah, so I put it up there. Because it's the first time I connect and deploy the app, it will take a few seconds.
Yeah, but, we don't need to see that.
Yeah, and the Mac is, well, I can show it in a few.
Yeah.
Well, when it comes up.
OK, because we are 1 minute left. So
Yeah, so
good question.
Very good question. So the setup for the USB for one thing is kind of complicated, and since we still don't have so since we still don't have the pieces in place, well, we could kind of do it, but we didn't have time for today because we need to install the Mac side of it from Windows, because every time you connect to a different Mac, we essentially need to push that and configure the activate this USB thing, and the same thing on Windows. And because it requires admin access on both sides, it's kind of tricky. So we're figuring out what's going to be the experience, but it will look pretty much transparent to you. You are connected to a Mac, ask permissions if you're not running as an admin, and say, hey, do you want to share this device with the Mac? You say yes, and if the thing is not already installed in the Mac, we'll push it.
Last thing. Xamarin Forms Reviewer. Did you saw it yesterday? Did you like it? Did you like it a lot? Good. So let's take a quick look at it here. You do know that, right, without this, you had to, what did you use to do? You have to edit code, build the code, deploy the code, look for the screen that you want to test using your app, maybe five screen deep right in your app, then realize that the color that you use looks ugly, go back, repeat, right?
Yeah, and one question was, it was because in the keynote they showed it in Xamarin Studio, so people were concerned that this was going to come like months later to Visual Studio.
No.
So
this is this thing here, the tool window.
yeah,
We have the Xamarin preview bits, Xamarin Forms preview bits installed. So when you have that, you will have this tool window in there.
it will come in an alpha refresh soon.
Hopefully soon. So can we see here? This is a customer page, not the employee. So let's assess.
So currently, it's a tool window. So currently, you will have to show it from View, other windows, Xamarin Forms Previewer. But we're thinking about putting some kind of a UI widget overlay in the WPF so that we can say, show Previewer. It will be more obvious how to launch it, right?
Yes. So, and you can see that this is really live. So I can do like background color equals, there is no pink. Why there is no pink? Anyway, purple. Did it change? Yeah. Looks ugly?
Right
yes.
there.
But you can keep trying, you know.
Yep.
You can do blue is probably not a good idea.
Can we switch to 3?
Sure.
Yeah, so the app is here, the breakpoint is there, and if I do F5,
So just so you know, we are back to USB forwarding, right?
so it's running, right? Okay.
Just so you know.
No fake.
And it did work. Cool. So last thing, we are already out of time.
Yep.
So this is what we are, and this time I want to start from, because I will leave it like this. There you go. So we really want your feedback. A lot of the stuff that we show here is not yet really in VS. What do you like the most? Please let us know what we should work on integrating next, right?
How many of you think that the tools that we build, like Inspector, Profiler, Workbooks, should be like embedded in VS rather than launch a separate app or kind of
All hands up. That's what I, yes.
Okay, yeah.
Please email miguel@xamarin.com.
And say, why is this a separate app?
Yes.
Yeah.
We will change that.
Yeah.
Yes. So I think we are finished. We can take questions.
We got a question there.
Yes.
Okay. So the question is, they have trouble with IntelliSense. Xamarin Forms app?
Let me take notes. Take notes.
Yeah. No, because it's already fixed. No notes. Just install
That was fast.
Xamarin Forms pre-release NuGet package 2.2 pre-release already has the fix for that.
Any other questions? Did you hear that?
Xamarin native Android, the IntelliSense problem too. So I guess you don't have a NuGet to install, right? So we still need to figure that out one. So
Okay.
yeah.
So
It always to me feels like XAML for Xamarin Forms is not treated like XAML for WPF. If you look at the code behind, initiate the
Component.
component, underline, it's not there. Any name.
That one is fixed with the pre-release NuGet package, by the way. The initialize component and red squigglies, that's gone. But yeah, that's gone.
What about interaction with other XAML helping components? If you've got a tool, a third-party add-on that cleans up your XAML and formats everything nicely, works great for WPF, doesn't do anything in XAML.
Okay, yeah. So very, very good. So the question is, why aren't we integrating better with the built-in WPF tools in Visual Studio? And the answer to that is, now that we are a single company, we'll be working even more. One of the things that we did in the past, prior to the acquisition, is to the Microsoft team and us, we worked together to enable the WPF IntelliSense in the XAML. Previously, we had our own custom thing done, which kind of worked, but theirs is better. So moving forward, we already started the discussions on the next thing that they are doing for WPF, and they are considering us right from the beginning It's, you have to think about WPF when it was created, nobody else was doing XAML. So there was no reason really to make it work with anything else than WPF. But now there is a reason, and we are a single company, so that's going to get only better substantially. It's not an easy task because WPF, as I said from the beginning, was not thought to support multiple flavors of XAML, but we'll get there. Yeah.
Any other questions? OK.
OK, over here.
What's happening with the Android emulator? So there was the Xamarin Android player, which seems to be
Forget about it.
there's a Microsoft
Yeah.
That's the one you should be using, Microsoft Android emulator.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's no reason to have two simulators for Windows, so I'm
OK.
Yeah.
And I need 2 guys that want the free Mac in Cloud subscription, and I need 2 guys that want a free 1-year subscription to Test Cloud.
Well,
OK. You raised 50 hands. We need to work that out. OK. So I think we need to leave here, but let's talk. Yeah.
thanks.
Thank you.